Oh, man, here it is, that moment of truth. That moment of truth where we wait for it to load. And I think we got you on the YouTube. YouTube, are you here? Yeah, there goes YouTube. You guys know I got to see it because I don't have an on-site producer. So I got to just make sure we're good. I got to just okay. And we got Rockfin. All right, cool. We are awake. What's up, everybody? Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. If you're in my time zone, it's morning. And to everyone in the future, Australia, New Zealand, hope you're well. Please solve climate change for the rest of us. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron. This is the headline show where we go through some of the news of the week. And we got a lot of stuff. Some coastal property got washed into the ocean in North Carolina. We're going to talk about that. We got an update on the grad student strike in Indiana University, my alma mater. We've been covering that story. We got some updates on it. We're going to look into that. And also food prices. It's all because of inflation, right? They have no choice, right? Well, not really. We're going to look at a case study with Tyson Foods. They make chicken, sort of, depending on who you ask. But first and foremost, helping me through the headlines, one of the regulars who I just got to hang out with recently on the road. She did an awesome job in New York and Pittsburgh. Please welcome back Lauren Ashcraft. Lauren, what's up?
I can now verify that Ron is a real human. I
Right.
have met you in real life. So
That was so cool. That was
I
so exciting.
know. Come back ASAP. We'll have to perform again together. And I know that
I would
I
love
need to
that.
make some trips out to Cali.
You got to come out to Cali and don't get a stomach bug next time.
I know. I actually just got food poisoning coming back from Mexico too. So I think it's just like, if anyone needs a check if your
You,
food is safe, give me some. If I die, it was not safe.
you have to pre-pack all your food whenever you travel.
I think
You
so.
just have to, I mean, you have to be that, but that is kind of a bummer because, part of the fun of traveling is enjoying the culinary delicacies of wherever it is you're going. But it saves you a hell of a lot of money.
It does.
If you're just like, I'm just packing food, it
Yeah.
saves you so much money. Sometimes I
I'll
get
just eat
excited.
I'll just eat
Yeah.
like the astronaut rations, like the things
Yes.
that they said.
Lauren, enjoy your space ice cream.
Yes. Actually, I have tried that once. Somebody that I went to school with had like a family member or something that worked for NASA, and she brought the class that ice cream, and it was kind of okay. So you
It's
know what?
interesting.
I'll just eat that.
Yeah, no, it is interesting stuff. I remember we had it when I was in grade school. Every year we would have it because there'd be like this field trip, like this NASA-oriented field trip. I don't think it obviously wasn't to NASA because I mean, I grew up in Pittsburgh. NASA's not there, but it was like this science center or something, and then they would give us space ice cream.
Ooh, Carnegie Space Center.
Yes, that's what it was. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Fun
fun.
place. It was a fun
Super
place.
fun.
So let's watch this house get swept into the ocean. Folks, that's where we're starting. Check this out. Have you seen this online yet?
Oh my gosh. No.
Oh,
And
man.
I'm
All right.
scared.
We
Yeah.
don't need the volume, so I'm going to turn the volume down because otherwise it just sounds. And for everyone listening to the podcast later, this is a house just legit going into the ocean. And Lauren and I are going to watch it here. And here it goes. Check it out. That's a house on, look at, boom. Look at that. Look at that.
Oh,
It's legit. Guys, you can see this. This happened in North Carolina. It's
wow.
surfing. The house is surfing. And by the way, this was just listed on Zillow for like 300 something thousand dollars. It was just listed like that morning. People were like tweeting the
Oh.
listing underneath.
Oh my gosh. $0 now, folks. You can,
It's
well,
wow. Yeah. Look at this. So here's the tweet. Cape Hatteras National Seashore has confirmed that an unoccupied house on Ocean Drive in Rodanthe, I guess I'm saying that right, Rodanthe, North Carolina,
Rodanthe.
collapsed this afternoon. This is the second unoccupied house collapse of the day at the seashore. Now, people love to say things like, why was the house built that close to the ocean? Because when it was initially built, it was not that close to the ocean. It's that
Yeah.
close to the ocean now. Now look, just to say this real quick before we go on, I understand that these kind of things do just sort of happen. Hey, I live in the San Pedro neighborhood in California. We are the area where Sunken City is. That's the part of California that in the 20s literally just fell into the ocean. I understand these things happen with different tides and like the plates and stuff like that. And someone with a better scientific background can explain that more than me. But here's the thing, with climate change looming, you are going to see so much more stuff like this. Even if it's not always the actual cause, you're going to see climate change exacerbating these kind of things and causing a lot more of this. And over here on the other coast, by the way, there's a big fire down in Laguna Beach right now. Fire season
Wow.
started early.
That's terrifying. And now with what just happened in Miami not too long ago too, where that apartment building collapsed. I mean, we know for a fact that a lot of our bridges and infrastructure is structurally deficient across the United States. And given the fact that houses are just collapsing on the coastlines, it's really not the time to politicize making sure that everyone along the coast is safe. But unfortunately, we have a bunch of fucking assholes in Congress and the Senate. So this is where we are, folks.
It's amazing that, I mean, I do think we are going to see a time in our lives where Miami, as we know it, is not a thing anymore. They'll either move it somehow, if that's even a possibility, or it will just not be a place anymore. I mean, I do think we will for sure see that. And I don't know how long though. Like they're not sure. Like they're like, it could be 5 years, it could be 30. Like they don't know. But it's like you could just see the tide is coming in, and the tide is coming in, and the tide is coming in. And it's just not, they're not ready at all. Where are those people gonna go?
Honestly, maybe that will get Republicans to worry because maybe we should all just move to like Idaho or something and take over. I
I have
don't
thought
know.
about that. I mean, that is something. What if every single lefty in the country just all went to the same place and just
Yeah,
took
like
over? But
Wyoming.
you can't get lefties to agree on not hating every podcast. Like, so how are you gonna get them to like all go to the same place?
Yes. Also, I would miss like, I don't know, having things to do and like not being judged for wearing crazy stuff going down the street. I don't know.
Well, you
I
wouldn't be in the lefty utopia place, wherever we decide it is, you wouldn't be judged for wearing the crazy shit down the
It's
street,
true. It's
presumably.
true. We would make our own little city and just vote for like straight up socialists.
It would go south real quick because it would, like, turn into a cult thing. Like, there would be like that what was that documentary about that place in Oregon? They started that yoga cult,
Oh yeah.
and it
Yeah.
got nuts real quick. They took over the city, like, they took over everything, and then it got really bad really quick. Like
Why
those things
why
always do.
we just have to go back to our original plan is like no one can be the leader of this new place unless me and
Oh,
you,
yeah, that's
Lauren and
right.
Ron, grant access. So if we, the two of us, hold the power, and like can kind of just like kick somebody out of the government there pretty easily, I'm for it. Let's do it.
Well, and this is why, to like bring in another issue that I really harp on this show, which is like digital rights and in particular municipal broadband, which is city-owned internet and internet accessibility to everyone. We have a story specifically about that later today. But like, this is why that is so important, and this is how it connects to climate change, no pun intended. People are going to have to spread out. It is
Hmm.
already happening. So when you have people not flooding Silicon Valley, not flooding like different areas like that and being living in places that are just more remote because they can work remote, that's not just something where, okay, I can afford a house and a yard now. It's also something, it's like, we are going to have to do this. We're
Yep.
going to have to spread out. We're going to have to make more use of the space that we have. Like, let me ask you, this is a hypothetical. Do you think we're going to see in our lifetimes, or let's not even go let's say next 20 years, do you think we'll see straight up new cities happening?
I think so.
You do?
Yeah, I really think. Or places like Pittsburgh, for example, that I wanted to keep a secret for a while. But it's like a cool and affordable place. I think we'll see more people going to places like that because it's far away from the coast. But like I live in New York City, it's islands. Our shoreline is decreasing every single year as well. And Los Angeles and Southern California is hugely populous. So, like, those people all have to go somewhere. And I don't see our politicians like doing a single thing to prevent us from having to leave.
Yeah. I mean, we're not preparing at all. Like we're not even upping infrastructure. We're not seeking long-term transportation solutions.
No.
I mean, it's just, and whenever you hear someone say 2050, that's code for we're just kicking it down the road. Like that means nothing. They might as well just say 2080 or 2090. They might as well just say we don't give a shit because that's really what you're saying. You're
Yep.
just kicking it down the road. You're just saying I'm literally going to be dead and gone, so I don't care. Like that. Like that's what you're saying. That's what Joe Biden is saying. That's what Dianne Feinstein is saying. That's what they're all saying.
I know the long-term plan in New York is to build a moat around the city, the entire city. And I'm just like we're at that point where we have to build a wall large enough to keep all the water away from the island of New York City.
That's a bit. At least you guys. I don't think we even have a plan in California. I mean,
Mm,
maybe there's something. I will
moat.
say this. Yeah, I will say this. The state is investing more into climate change than what's being done federally. Like on scale, like the state itself is actually doing more than they're doing federally. But what's that? That's a low bar. Like
It's
that's a
a
very low
low
bar.
bar.
I,
I
I
mean,
mean,
federally, they're doing negative amounts of things.
yeah. So in
They're just like,
California, there's a little bit of money that goes to scientists that are like, yeah, this is shitty. We got to do something. And
yeah.
here's what we're trying to do. So there is some stuff as far as forests are concerned and water. I mean, that's the other crazy thing. You see stuff like this where stuff is being washed away. And this is one of the areas where you think technology is going to have to play somewhat of a role. And this is one of the roles it will likely play.
Hmm.
We have drought situations where I live in California. We have drought situations in other parts of the country. They're relying on snow caps from the Colorado River, basically, and that is slowing as well. So you're going to need some legit solutions here. And I think part of it is there's some there's some development out there in how to treat brackish water to make it potable and to make it usable water. I don't think they've quite mastered it yet, but I think that's gonna have to happen.
Hmm. Yeah. It's just, it would be a lot easier if we start taking action like yesterday, but
Right. Well, we have to do everything. I mean, we have to take action. We have to change the way we live. We have to change, we have to get off fossil fuels completely.
yes.
And we have to acknowledge that, technology is going to be part of this too, to conserve our way of life. It's just going to be, um,
Hmm.
because, getting off of fossil fuels, there's going to be new solutions that take over basically. But, uh, yeah, you see stuff like this and you just think, yeah, nothing, this is on fire. And there's probably going to be a flood next week. And here we go. Time for the summer. The summer hits. Let's roll them out.
Thanks, Congress.
Yeah. Yeah. And as they continue to do nothing, just absolutely nothing. But here is something. So because I brought up municipal broadband, we'll go here next. I wanted to cover this. So shout out to Truth to Tweet for bringing this to my attention. Internet providers are cutting broadband costs for low income Americans. Okay, what's going on here? This is part of the Affordable Connectivity Program, which was in the infrastructure bill. And this was one of the actual okay things in the infrastructure bill. Was it enough? Absolutely not. But was it something that went to broadband? Yeah. And well, let's read on. So 20 major internet providers, including Comcast, AT&T, and Verizon, have agreed to cut the price of their services for eligible low-income households. President Biden and Vice President Harris announced this new deal. The commitments are part of the Affordable Connectivity Program, which is an aspect of the infrastructure law passed next year. Who is eligible? About 48 million households in the U.S. are eligible for the Affordable Internet Policy. The plan is for households with an annual income to or under 200% of the federal poverty line, which equals 27,000 per person or 55,000 for a family of four. So here's my take on it. Is it good that people are getting broadband at a level they can afford? Absolutely. And in the short term, that's freaking great. The problem here is in the long term, they're subsidizing these predatory companies
Mhm.
that need to just get out of broadband altogether. It's that whole public-private partnership thing where it's like, okay, in the short term, it's helping people get internet, and I see the importance of that. But in the long term, this is not what you want them to consider the permanent fix.
Yes. And also, like, I see those numbers, like $27,000. Like in New York, you would have already been homeless. Like,
Yeah.
if you have a salary of $27,000 and you try to live here, you might share a studio apartment with like 14 other people in order to pay that, or you're just homeless. So I always like look at those federal lines, and New York, California were totally left out. People are completely impoverished if they make way above that in either of those places. So honestly, I think the best solution is moving just towards, I mean, I hate to keep nationalizing stuff, but what if what if we just provided government provided internet for everybody?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
as
Yeah.
long that, and also like I think about actually one of the most innovative vaccinations that is being researched right now. I am the one good thing the military budget is maybe doing is working towards a pan COVID vaccine. It's in human trials right now at the Walter Reed Army Research Center, and it just shows like, okay, I know that I don't want to keep giving the military a bloated budget, but I think this particular research demonstrates that pharmaceutical companies don't need to be for profit in order to have innovative research.
Right.
So the more that we do stuff like this, the more that we can keep moving towards, you know what, every single person should have internet regardless of their income. And if you want some fancy service, maybe then you go with Verizon or whoever the heck you want to go with. But as a baseline, everyone should have the government provided internet at the very least. That's what I think.
No, no, no. I hear you, and I'm not familiar with that specific research you're referring to. I've not heard of it, but you know, it's interesting too. Like you think about a couple years ago, the military could have gone around and made outdoor campuses everywhere they could have with like amazing ventilation, and it would have enabled kids to like be able to go to school a lot safer. And it just didn't happen.
No,
It could have been paid for many times over. It could have been implemented, and I get it, you probably wouldn't have been able to pull that off in, like, Wisconsin or something like that, but a lot of places you could have pulled it off, it would have made a difference. They just didn't bother.
don't
So
care.
there's just all that they just don't bother doing all of these obvious things, and municipal broadband is one of them. Something like this could be paid for many times over. Every single study that's ever been done on the topic reveals that municipal broadband offers better internet. It's better than what the cable companies offer at a better price, it's affordable. And in the long run, it saves the community money because
Mhm.
you're not being price gouged by these big cable companies.
Also,
So,
like
and it brings
the
local jobs too.
totally. And like this Republican talking point of like, everyone just wants to be lazy and not work. Like, how many people can't apply to jobs because they don't have the internet? Like,
Yeah.
you can't go to the library every time you need to see if you have a job interview. Every single person should have internet as a guaranteed basic of our
What's it?
existence in the United States.
That's the thing. The pandemic, especially, has taught us how much of a utility it is in our lives. It's always been a utility in our lives, but now more than ever before. And you saw some of the stuff that happened in Philadelphia. There were kids who didn't have sufficient internet connections at home where they could participate on a Zoom. So they were going to Burger King parking lots or wherever they had to go, and they were pleading with Comcast
Yep.
to build hotspots for people. Comcast, one of the most hated companies in the world, literally in the world. AT&T even more so. But Comcast, one of the most hated companies in the world, was having a monopoly on whether or not our kids got to go to school. How warped is that?
Yeah.
That is twisted beyond comprehension. So, I think that municipal broadband in general has more eyeballs on it now than ever before, which is great, but it's still not happening as quickly as I would like to see it. I mean, it's slowly happening, and you hear about different towns and municipalities all over the country, by the way, because this isn't a left-right thing. This is, I mean, there's small towns and in red states that have this now. The best municipal broadband in the country is in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So this is spreading, but I think that's one of those things where that should have been one of the main points of infrastructure, where it's like, yes, we are going to make the internet a utility, kind of basically like what happened with electricity back in the day. I mean,
Yeah.
there was a time where there was kind of a divide as far as access to electricity. That actually still does exist a little bit in the United States. We don't like to talk about that, but it is still there, but not near to the degree it was. And we have the
Yeah.
opportunity to do the same thing with internet.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's to that point where we know what happens, and it's like you just we, I just keep I honestly hate watching the news other than indie news these days because it's just the same thing all the time. These politicians are like, why can't we help these people? And it's like, bro, we pay you to make policy to make a difference in everybody's lives, but you just sit there and take money from Comcast.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
wonder why. I wonder why.
why is this policy being unrolled instead of nationalizing the internet? Well, because Joe Biden started his career. He started his campaign, excuse me, with a bunch of Comcast executives. It was a dinner with a bunch of Comcast executives. So of course they're going to just give them money instead of actually fixing, doing a permanent solution. And again, I'm glad that the people who desperately need the internet are getting it at a price they can afford. I get that short-term benefit, and I'm glad those people have that. But policy-wise, this is not the permanent fix. This is
No.
not a solution. So let's go to some strike news. Now, I think this was actually the last time you were on the show where we talked about the strike going on at my alma mater, Indiana University. Uh,
Yes.
so, quick refresher for everybody. Grad students at Indiana University, and this is happening in other places as well now, they went on strike because they are getting paid, I believe it's 7 times under what the living poverty wage is in Indiana, which means, I mean, Indiana is not a very expensive state, so I can only imagine what they're actually being paid, like
Mhm.
like like maybe a case of beer or something. And they're being hit with all these ridiculous fees and all these things, so they went on strike because here's the deal. Graduate students are part of a department at a university. Their labor is relied upon. They grade papers, they teach students, they lead discussion sections. And I can tell you, as someone who went to IU myself, over half of my classes as a freshman were taught by grad students, were taught by graduate assistants. So the department relies on them and their labor. They also get to go to school. That's part of how they are compensated. They get to go to school for free, but they're also given a living wage so that they can be active members of the faculty, basically, which is what they are in a lot of ways. So they should be paid enough that they can survive. It's not that much to ask, but they're not. So they go on strike. So here's an update. This is recent as of this week. The union members have voted to suspend our strike until September 26th. This summer, we will set up a UE local and strategize for an even larger strike in the fall of 2022. Solidarity forever. So here's what they've accomplished so far. They got the biggest overall like meeting between faculty and the boards that have happened in 17 years.
Wow.
So, like, and a bunch of the faculty is on their side. The faculty has been writing on their behalf. So they're really rallying the entire IU community around this. They're having events in the town, and they got it to this point where it's like, okay, we're gonna kind of go back to business as usual this summer, and then we're planning an even bigger strike in the fall if you guys don't meet our demands. Which, I've thought about it. I think that's really freaking smart because, first of all, by kind of starting and stopping, they're not giving departments a chance to just kind of push them out.
Yep.
They're not giving them that opportunity. But what they are doing is they're striking, literally and, metaphorically when it matters most. It's not going to matter that much in the summer when it's like you're just operating at half mast on a college campus anyway. But come the fall, boom, we're gone. You want us around? You're relying on us? You're giving us these sections? Well, guess what? If our demands aren't met, we're freaking out of here. And then what are you going to do?
I love it.
Very smart. It's very, very smart strategy wise.
I love it. And hopefully across the whole country, other grad school workers and people in the same position are kind of watching to see what happens, setting an example for the rest of everyone in that same industry. I love
Well,
it.
it's amazing because we're seeing it in so many different industries now. Like we're seeing strikes happening in the adult entertainment industry with the stripper strike here in North Hollywood. We're seeing it with stage and TV workers. We saw it with John Deere. We saw it with Kellogg's. We're seeing it in Amy's Kitchen. We're seeing it with grad students. We're seeing it with Amazon, Starbucks. It's just the list goes on and on of people who are like, we can't take this anymore. And the veil's being lifted. And that's why I'm like, it's time for a freaking general strike. I know that's not going to be easy, but I feel like that's what needs to happen. Or enough of these strikes need to add up to the point where it just leads to a true societal change. The problem with that second thing is we don't have anyone in government that has the foresight to see that coming down the road.
Mm-hmm.
FDR had the foresight. FDR, and I'm not saying FDR was perfect. He certainly wasn't. I'm not saying he was some huge lefty either. He wasn't. He was a moderate. But FDR had the foresight. He saw what was going on. And he goes, okay, we're either going to give up a little bit or we're going to give up everything. Rich people, you choose. You want to give up a little bit? You want to give up everything. Choice is yours. He had some foresight. Joe Biden is not even cognizant of half the shit that's going on, probably. I don't think
Yeah.
he's cognizant of what he had for breakfast this morning. And no one in Congress is awake either. So it's like we don't have anyone in leadership right now who has the foresight to realize, look at all these industries that are just shutting the doors and saying, we've had enough. We can't take it anymore. Okay, we need basically a new Bill of Rights. We need a new we need to systemically change this country or we're screwed. No one has that foresight. No one has that foresight. So the people are literally just going to have to take it back.
I agree with that. And it's really to the point where I mean, we've made it through, we're not even done, but we've like made it this far into a pandemic and we don't even have universal health care. We don't have paid sick leave. We have like not we have gone backwards actually in terms of things that we should have following a pandemic, but we don't. And I think, you know, I mean, French Revolution was a lot more bloody than I intend to be. But I think a general strike is a good happy medium. Like
It's a good happy medium.
yeah, like let's just cut off the money where it hurts. And I think actually that would be even more productive than, what happened in France.
No, I agree. I mean, and you can read. There's a lot of like different interesting theories out there about how violence is just not sustainable, like in a lot
Yeah.
of ways. And I agree with that. I think a general strike is the way to go. You
Yep.
just shut it down. I know that's going to take so much. I know that is not going to be an easy feat. I also understand it might not be possible. But
Well,
if it
these
isn't, I think staying the course is a much greater impossibility.
yeah. And these people care a whole lot more about money than they do about their colleagues or anybody's lives. So that's why I really think you're right here.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you hit people in the pocketbooks, all of a sudden, the just. I mean, that's what needs to happen. The Elon Musk of the world, the Jeff Bezos of the world, that they need to just feel it in their pocketbook. Then all of a sudden, they're going to be like, "Okay, fix this." Just fix this. They'll fight it kicking and screaming. We're seeing Howard Schultz right now humiliating himself trying to bust unions, and now they're facing a bunch of lawsuits because they've been breaking the law to do it. And you're going to see more of that. But at the end of the day, they're going to be like, okay, we're losing money. We got to, okay, what do we got to do to fix that?
We do need something like drastic to kind of upset the whole system, because we see, honestly, I think that these like explicit fascists, I think that they're kind of insurance for the people like Joe Biden, like Joe Manchin, like Cinema, for example, because it's like, oh, well, at least we're not Nazis. But in the meantime, we'll do absolutely nothing. And that's the choice you have: nothing or fascism. So you're welcome.
Not only nothing or fascism, but nothing and the thing that's just going to go right back to fascism.
Yep.
Those are your choices.
Yeah.
Like it's just like neoliberalism leads to neo-fascism and vice versa 100% of the time.
Yep.
And so it's just a volley. It's just a freaking volley. And we're the ping pong ball getting batted around. And here's the problem. Neither person at the other end of the table wants to end the volley. They're just happy batting us the frick around. So it's like we got to just flip the table the way Jesus did when he was mad at the capitalists.
Love it.
That's what we got to do. So this is insanely interesting. This is from More Perfect Union. And here's the deal. So food prices are going up everywhere. We're noticing that. And they're telling us, well, it's because of inflation. It's inflation. And inflation's certainly happening. Here, hold on. I want to pause this before it gets too far ahead. Inflation's certainly happening. No one's denying that. But here's the deal. A lot of these food prices, they're being raised not because of inflation, but because they can take advantage of that narrative. Here is something in regards to Tyson Foods. Tyson Foods, they make frozen foods. Some would call it chicken, depending on who you ask. And here's what they're doing. They recorded record profits in the first quarter, I believe. Record profits, more than double what their profit margins are supposed to be. Why? Well, because they raise prices. But I thought that was because they can. So here, this video explains it. We're going to go through this.
Do you feel like the prices of normal things you buy every day are going up?
Yes.
Well, supposedly we can thank
rising inflation.
The main thing is inflation.
The American people are facing the highest inflation in more than 10 years.
Chicken, eggs, meat.
A pound of steak is up by $2. A pound of bacon costs over $7. $7 bacon, $7 bacon.
So what happened? The official inflation story in the media goes like this. Workers are demanding too much money. Costs of raw materials and transportation are going up. And the Biden administration has pumped too much money into the economy. But that's not the full picture. There's something that corporate America doesn't want you to know. We searched through SEC filings, monitored corporate earnings calls, and looked through corporate financial reports. And we found some startling evidence of what's really behind inflation. This is The Classroom from More Perfect Union. Here's a clip from one of the people who has control over prices, John Katsamatidis, president of Gristedes and D'Agostino supermarkets. He's also a real estate and oil CEO.
You know how CEOs are on Wall Street. They live quarter by quarter. If they're off by a penny in earnings, Wall Street is not forgiven. So what are the CEOs doing? They're raising prices. I see food prices going up. Promotions are down to zero. Why give away something when you don't have to give it away and you make more margin?
That's a confession.
Why give away something when you don't have to give it away and you make more margin?
Business leaders are admitting that corporations are using the narrative of hyperinflation as an excuse to raise prices on you and increase profits for themselves. Let's look at some corporate earnings calls. That's where companies tell investors how much money the company is making and their plans to make more. A study by Bank of America found that these reports mentioned inflation 1,100% more in the second quarter of 2021 than in the previous year. But while they blame inflation for rising prices, the largest corporations in America have never made more money. The Wall Street Journal reported that 2 out of 3 of the biggest U.S. publicly traded companies had larger profit margins this year than they did prior to the pandemic in 2019. Nearly 100 of these massive corporations reported profits in 2021 that are 50% above profit margins in 2019. This is a clip from the 2021 third quarter earnings of Tyson, the meat processor whose chicken you might have in your freezer.
We have increased prices to help offset significant raw material and supply chain cost inflation. Pricings improved nearly 16% in the quarter versus the comparable period last year.
Some quick business talk translation. When he says pricing improved, he means Tyson was happy to raise prices, and that was good news for Tyson shareholders. Tyson's wants people like you and me to believe that they were forced to raise prices as a result of inflation. But the company is making almost double what it made the year before.
Up to 81%. 81% more.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible? So it's like they're just using, and this is capitalism.
Yep.
Because in capitalism, everything that happens, you try to think, how can I exploit this? How can I make more money off of this? So, inflation's happening. We can raise prices. In reality, they already have this stuff baked in. They already have these costs baked in because they're set on making money anyway. So they're like, we don't need to raise prices, but we're going to anyway. So our profit margins could be even higher. And who are we screwing over? We're screwing over you. Because there is real inflation that's happening. It's not like it isn't happening. It is. And it's hurting regular people. So now they're hurting you even more by driving prices up. And that's capital. In a non-capitalistic society, it wouldn't be, how can we exploit this and make more money off of this? It's, how can we navigate this and deal with this and make sure no one loses their job and people are okay? That's the big difference.
And you can also regulate basic necessity prices. It's just like there's so many things that our government can do, but they don't, which is just the same story over and over. In every different industry, it's the same story. I'm frustrated.
It's so it's so exhausting. And you have people who will make excuses for these companies. They'll just play the same tune. Like, no, it's just the supply chain. It's like, look, yes, all that stuff is going on, but they're taking advantage of the situation. It's all like, they don't need to raise prices. Your chicken could cost the same amount right now. They're doing it just because they can, and they can get away with it. And they sure as hell ain't sharing any of these profits with the workers either, by the way. They sure as hell ain't doing that.
No. One of the things that you can do in the meantime is like definitely avoid companies like Tyson. I know my family is like a huge supporter of getting farm boxes from local farms. You can support them, buy local, and these like local farmers are not gouging prices like these huge corporations are. Also going to farmers markets, being parts of, I know there's like grocery co-ops and things like that.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you do have the land for a garden, growing as much as you can, doing as much that you can to keep your soil healthy, because that's another big problem. I think I was recently talking with Melanie Dorigo, who said we have like 60 farming cycles left in our soil because we've starved it of nutrients because of mass farming. So it's like every direction you look, it's like, it's really overwhelming. So just doing what you can, buying local, supporting local is like one of the best things you can do for food sustainability.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's something that is not emphasized enough, like eating local, going local when it comes to food. It is so incredibly important, and it goes incredibly far. By the way, and when people say that, it goes beyond just, hey, I go to my farmer's market once a week. That's great. I go to my farmer's market every week. I love my farmer's market. It's a lot of fun, and it's great, and there's great food. But it's more than that. It's understanding, where are the community gardens? Are you giving your compost to somebody? If you are able to grow food, are you doing that? That's what it really means to kind of understand your local food economy and to kind of just embrace that as best as you can. And that's what, I mean, I try to do that. I try to get all of my produce as locally as I can. I try to use the grocery store as little as possible. I can't not use it at all, but I try to use it as little as possible and
Yep.
just rely on local means as much as I possibly can.
Yes. Yeah, and I love composting. If you don't have like a composting bin, you can actually keep your banana peels and like pepper stems and stuff. You can keep them in a little Ziploc bag in your freezer until you're ready to take it somewhere. I know in New York City there's public composting bins that they're installing like in every neighborhood. I think around the city, it's like a project that is happening actively as we're speaking. So figuring out where your local one is, where the closest one to you, saving up, freezing your leftover food or whatever that you were about to throw out, your moldy apples, and take it to that bin whenever you have time and you're giving back a little bit.
No, I have a couple different people in the neighborhood and near the neighborhood who get my compost, and one of them is a buddy of mine. He uses it to feed his pot plants. So sometimes when
Yeah.
I have some of his homemade joints, I'll be smoking it and I'll be like, an apple that I ate helped make this possible.
Yes. Good
It's a
vibes
cool
all
feeling.
around.
It's a cool feeling.
That's awesome. Also cannabis plants. I don't know if you do say cannabis plants, but it's actually
Sure.
better for soil to grow that than like corn, for example. It's a plant that somehow gives back to the earth. So we just have to cover our whole planet in weed, people.
We don't have to like get into all this right now, or we'd be talking for like hours, but like all the uses for hemp, even
Yeah.
all the freaking uses for hemp that we're finally coming around to because we're finally getting over the propaganda of the drug war, at least that part of it. And there's so many solutions there that will help us in a post-fossil fuel world. And I really hope we get there. I really do. And I think we got a shot, and I'm just going to try to do everything I can to help us get there as an individual. I think that's all any of us can do at the end of the day, really.
Yeah, weed for all.
Weed
Which
for all.
while we're on this topic, that's a no-brainer. Federally legalize it,
Yes.
man.
Yeah, they won't even about, what is it, like 80% of the public is there now?
Yes, and
Like
and
80%.
I literally have Republican family members that are like, doing what they can to go to like places where pot is legal and buying it there and taking it back home because they have chronic pain or they have anxiety. Like these are people who vote for Trump,
Yeah.
you know?
And even they're like, it's just a plant. Who cares? We want it,
Yeah. Yes,
Uh,
it's a plant that helps people.
It is. It is.
Or
Lauren,
it
where
just
can
gives you good vibes.
both? That's helping you too.
Yes.
That's why whenever it's
exactly.
like, do you need it medicinally? We all use it medicinally. We all
Exactly.
use, like, even if you're just like, I need this buzz to cope. That's still medicinal as far as I'm concerned. But yeah,
Yes, it's
and
better than driving aggressively down the street and like hitting someone, which is
no shit.
just smoke cannabis. Just everyone
It's
should.
it's a good thing, and it just helps in so many ways. But Lauren, where can everyone go to learn more about you?
Definitely my local farmers market.
Nice, I'll be there.
But you can follow me at Vote Ashcraft, and I'm prolific on Twitter. That's about where I am right now because I'm still locked out of Facebook, by the way.
Are you? What happened?
Yes, still. I got a new
What'd
phone.
you do?
I got a new phone, and this is for everybody who's listening. Fuck Mark Zuckerberg, by the way. But I got a new phone, and I had an authenticator, two-factor authentication set up. And if you get a new phone, that doesn't move over from the cloud. So, like, my authenticator is in authenticator hell right now. I can't get it back. And Facebook won't let me in without a secret code that can only be generated from my old phone that doesn't exist anymore.
Wow.
So,
That's crazy.
Yes, and I emailed the company and they're like, sorry, this has never happened before. But if you Google it, it happens to thousands of people who don't think they'll be permanently locked out of a social media. Anyway, Make sure you don't make my
Wow.
mistake. And if you don't need Facebook, then leave it because it actually sucks. Thanks for listening, guys.
That's crazy. Wow. All right. Next time I get a new phone, I'm gonna consult you first to make sure that doesn't happen to me. Yeah.
Definitely do
Wow.
that. Do
All
that.
right.
I'm
All
just on
right.
Twitter. That's where you can find me.
Sounds good. At Vote Ashcraft. Lauren, good seeing you. Thanks for joining, and I will see you next time.
Thank you. Good to be here. Thanks for having me. Bye, everyone.
See ya. Lauren Ashcraft, follow her on Twitter at Vote Ashcraft. Before we get out of here, tour dates, I got them, romplacone.com. Iceland. Are you in Iceland? I'm going to be at the Reykjavik Fringe Festival, June 28th at 10:30 p.m. at Hurrah and July 3rd at 6 p.m. at Hurrah in Reykjavik. I'll be there. You can get tickets directly from the festival. Go to romplacone.com. That is more information, and you can get tickets directly from the festival as soon as they're available. And I can't wait to see you out there. Also, Graham Elwood and I have some tour dates in the Northwest. That's myself and Graham Elwood. July 28th, Portland. July 29th, Seattle. July 30th, Vancouver, British Columbia. Those tickets are available now, and you can get them at romplacone.com. That's myself and Graham, romplacone.com. Don't wait. Get them. Grab them now. Yeah, if you want to support this show, the sustainability end, patreon.com/romplacone for a give what you can level. You get all kinds of exclusive perks. You get patron Zoom shows. You get, I do a patron stream once a week, and I'll make you a theme song, and that's all for a give what you can level. Even $1 a month goes a long way. Whatever level you're comfortable giving, everyone gets all the same stuff. I have a utilitarian Patreon. I should rename it that. Anyway, patreon.com/romplacone. I just launched a new podcast series under the Get Your News On with Ron banner. So your support means an awful lot. And I should have a mini pilot dropping really soon. And I'm still working on a movie. So patreon.com/romplacone if you want to help keep all of this afloat. Yeah. All right. We will be back next week. In the meantime, you know the drill. Lucy, she says meow. And I say peace, love, and a general strike. And eat local, in solidarity with all the IU grad students, in solidarity with all the Starbucks workers and Amazon workers, and you get it, all the workers. You know how it goes. I'll see you guys later. Peace.